What's going on, everybody? I'm Ben Hauver, and today I am here to give you my top 5 tournament plays for DraftKings in week 1. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, drop a like. It helps us out a ton. We do multiple live streams per week on this YouTube channel. We talk about the best bets of the week every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, late night DFS live stream every Saturday night. We also have multiple podcasts per week, which you can find on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever else you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out our free Discord channel. The link to that is in the description to this very video. Without any further ado, though, let's get right into the top 5 tournament plays for week 1 on DraftKings. Starting off with number 5, James Conner, priced at $7K, is a phenomenal leverage play this week. At this point, when I'm recording, I don't yet know the status of Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz. However, they both seem highly questionable for this game. If they're both to miss, Marquise Brown is going to be easily one of the chalkiest plays on the slate. At running back, ownership is going to be consolidated very heavily around Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. I think a lot of guys in this price range from, say, 7K, pre-Christian McCaffrey at 8.5, all these guys, James Conner, you can see some others here on the screen, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, guys like this I think are going to get overlooked this week. Conner offers the opportunity to be leveraged not only on Hollywood Brown, but just sort of the way that we expect that game to play out. Everybody was going to play Rondale Moore. Conner, on the other hand, nobody's on Conner, right? He's going to be under 5%. And the thing about James Conner is that we saw his role is absolutely massive. It was massive in the games without Chase Edmonds last year. In those 5 games, he averaged 15.8 attempts per game, 5 receptions, almost 100 yards, 98.4 to be exact, and he scored 7 touchdowns across that 5-game stretch without Chase Edmonds. Now, Chase Edmonds is gone. The number 2 running back is Eno Benjamin, a player who has under 50 career touches over 2 years in the NFL. With Rondale questionable, Zach Ertz questionable, James Conner could easily be the second target in this offense behind Hollywood Brown. His only competition is, Trey McBride, a rookie tight end in his first NFL game, and A.J. Green, who is the absolute stone definition of dust at this point in his career. James Conner is leveraged both on the popular running backs. He's going to be leveraged on Hollywood Brown, who's developing into massive chalk as the week continues. And you're getting a home running back in the highest totaled game on the slate, potential shootout. He has pass catching upside. He has multiple touchdown upside in any given game. This is a given, especially with ownership numbers under 5%. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to James Conner in week 1. All right, number 4. Let's look at a guy that is surprisingly getting overlooked despite being right here at the top of the list. Who are we going to be selecting? Deebo Samuel for the 49ers. So Deebo was a guy to me that I was largely off of in best ball and season long because I think, from a full season perspective, we can definitely expect some regression. The touchdowns were completely unsustainable, having 8 rushing touchdowns on 59 attempts last season. But we have to remember, right, that DraftKings is a weekly game. And in any given week, Deebo Samuel does have a massive ceiling. Trey Lance is going to be one of the highest played quarterbacks on DraftKings. His ownership puts him in the top 5, I think, at the quarterback position. Yet somehow Deebo Samuel is checking in with an elite ceiling projection and an ownership projection at 1%, 2%, maybe on the high end. Nobody's interested in playing Deebo in this spot. 49ers, healthy implied team total 23. The concerns with him, right, are what is he going to be able to do with Trey Lance? So week 17, he put up 17.2 with Trey Lance. The other 2 games that Lance got significant run was week 4 and week 5, 16.1, 38.7. I don't know the exact split of how much of this 38.7 came from Jimmy G or came from Trey Lance. I think they both got snaps in that game. Nonetheless, though, Deebo Samuel is going to be one of the most talented players on the field, if not the most talented player on the field in this entire game. Okay, the explosiveness is there. He has an absolute sky-high ceiling. Nobody is going to play him. He's going to be good positional leverage off of guys like Adams, Jefferson, Chase. All of these guys are going to come with high ownership, especially compared to Deebo. George Kittle seems unlikely to play this game, which I think just consolidates the targets even further between Deebo and Brandon Ayuk. Deebo to me, 7,400. Makes a ton of sense in Trey Lance stacks, and you have a natural bring back in Darnell Mooney, who is priced way too low this week. If I were doing 6 players, I would probably be talking Darnell Mooney as well, but Mooney at 5,700 is a great bet, great bring back for a Trey Lance Deebo stack that is going to fly completely under the radar. Number 3, Marquez ValdesScantling, 4,700 on DraftKings. Maybe you guys caught the quotes from Patrick Mahomes this week where he said it's going to be a different guy at the wide receiver position every single week that goes off, in jest a little bit, apologizing to fantasy owners. But nonetheless, jokes aside, I actually do think that is how this Kansas City Chiefs passing attack is going to look post Tyreek Hill. I think that the ball is going to go to Travis Kelce, and other than that, it could get spread around. Juju seems to be the guy that everybody wants to play from a DFS perspective. Juju is getting steamed up. He started the week with ownership projections around 10-12%. I think that he's going to close around 20 when everything is said and done. This weekend. Marquez ValdesScantling, on the other hand, is gaining no steam. Nobody wants to play him. All of their priors about whether or not he's good at football, blah, 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 was he overpaid? I don't give a shit about any of that. All I care about is that Marquez ValdesScantling clearly won the number 2 wide receiver spot in training camp. He's a big play threat. He's a touchdown threat, and he's going to be catching balls from Patrick Mahomes in, like I said with James Conner, the highest totaled game on the slate. These 2 players right here, James Conner, Marquez ValdesScantling, that is a correlated, couple of plays that makes a ton of sense, a ton of ceiling. MVS is going to be good direct leverage off of Juju Smith-Schuster, and you can even play them together. You can make your Patrick Mahomes double stacks look really good with Mahomes, MVS, Travis Kelce. You're still getting a lot of good exposure there to Mahomes and Kelce, getting different with MVS, James Conner as your contrarian bring back. And I don't know, man. MVS makes a ton of sense to me. Everybody's going to be, playing guys slightly below that range. And Kadarius Toney, I think George Pickens could emerge as a popular option, depending on what we find out about Deontay Johnson's health status. Nobody's going to be in this range. Everyone would rather just either pay down to those guys that I just mentioned or pay up slightly to Rashad Bateman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Pittman, who's going to be stone chalk, et cetera, et cetera. Price range is right for MVS. Ceiling is right for MVS. And I think that we have to take a shot, especially early in the year when we don't know how this Chiefs offense is going to play out. A lot of people are probably banking a little bit too much on Sky Moore and Mecole Hardman. I don't think that their roles are going to be anything insane. It should be Juju, MVS, Travis Kelce at the top of this depth chart. 2 of those guys are stone chalk. 1 is not. You guys do the math. All right, my number 2 tournament play of the week, Travis Etienne Jr., 5,600 on the road against Washington for a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is currently an underdog. However, if you guys checked out our Dose Bets live stream on Wednesday night, I did officially bet the Jags money line. I think the Jags can easily win this game with Doug Peterson's familiarity with Carson Wentz. Wentz on his 3rd team in as many years. It's going to be a more pass-centric approach for the Jaguars, which I think bodes well for Travis Etienne. Now, the James Robinson situation. It's tough. He has no limitations reportedly going into week 1. That being said, unless he is literally like a specimen that the scientific community has never seen, that the sports community has never seen, I don't understand how he's possibly going to get in there and get back and be fully good from this Achilles tear this quickly. If you guys caught Thursday Night Football, Cam Akers still looked like he was barely functioning, got outplayed, outsnapped by Darrell Henderson. And for the Jags, James Robinson, he's already got Travis Etienne waiting, hungry, right behind him, chomping at the bit to get on the field. And I don't think it's going to take too long. If Robinson looks any slower, it just lacks any of the burst that he used to have, how can this team keep Travis Etienne, by all accounts, one of the most explosive players at Jags camp? That's what we thought he would be coming out of college. Obviously missed his rookie year with the foot injury, but is back healthy in this spot. 5,600, you're getting a sub 6K running back with 5, 6, 7 reception upside. I think there's touchdown upside in this offense in general that is being completely underrated by the market, especially in this spot against a Chase Youngless Washington team. James Robinson going to be the guy who's traditionally just, trying to run it through the middle of a defense. Washington has a very, very stout run defense if any of their numbers hold over from last year. They were one of the best run defenses in the league, especially in the red zone. Travis Etienne will be able to get out in space. I think they're going to utilize his pass catching upside. It's just going to be in a price range that gets completely overlooked. Like I said earlier when referring to James Conner, people want to pay up to Jonathan Taylor and CMC. They want to settle in the mid-range to guys like Barkley and Najee, and then even a little bit higher like Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. But nobody's coming down to this range of running back at 5,600. And I like a couple of guys in this spot. Etienne, Mitchell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ramondre Stevenson, I think are all good shots to take in large field tournaments, but Etienne is my favorite of the bunch just from what he does as a pass catcher, but also just the fact that I think that there is room for him to absolutely dominate touches in a situation where James Robinson is not fully recovered from an injury that we just don't see running backs fully recover from. So, I'm obviously rooting for James Robinson. We've talked about him a lot on this channel in the past, but that being said, I think that we are about to see the emergence of Travis Etienne. I want to be in early before everybody sees it, and week 1 is the time to do it. Seize the moment. Travis Etienne, 5,600 on DraftKings in week 1. All right, and now my number 1 tournament play. I'm actually going to cheat here and give you guys a full-blown double stack. I couldn't just leave this at one play because these guys belong together. Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, and then at tight end, Gerald Everett. All right, I am recording this on Friday morning, still waiting for the official status of Donald Parham, but he seems very unlikely to suit up in week 1, which should give Gerald Everett a clear run at all of the snaps at starting tight end for the Chargers. And this Chargers team, second highest implied team total on the slate, currently at 28, right behind the Chiefs. This is no secret to anybody who's listened to any of the content we've done. I am huge on Justin Herbert this year. I've got him MVP bets. I've got Chargers to win the Super Bowl, and this spot is great. Absolutely great for the Chargers to be going after a Raiders secondary that, frankly just lacks the talent to be able to keep up with this guy. Herbo, come on. Look at his face. Look at that smile. That's the smile of somebody who's going to be winning me $1 million, or maybe one of you guys $1 million. He's winning somebody $1 million, though. I'll tell you that. If you look at any projection system, Justin Herbert's right there in the top 3 in terms of a ceiling projection, but ownership-wise, he's outside of the top 5. That is a clear spot that we want to attack. His stacking partners are going to be low owned. People haven't really come around to Everett. I think, a lot of the ownership's going to go to Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and then in the low end, I'm seeing Irv Smith being, talked about pretty much, Cole Kmet, guys like that. But Everett, coming off of a pretty disappointing year in a disappointing offense, I think has a great chance to bounce back here. 3,800, all you need is a touchdown, and correlated with Justin Herbert makes a ton of sense. Mike Williams, I love Mike Williams this year. I think he has the potential to have a Cooper Kupp-esque breakout season. We look back to what was Cooper Kupp prior to last offseason. It was him and Robert Woods sort of in this split. Don't know which one of them is going to emerge as the number 1. You could say the same thing this year with Mike Will, Keenan Allen, but Mike Will's coming off of a year where we saw his ceiling. For the first 5 weeks of the year last year, he was the wide receiver 2 in fantasy behind Cooper Kupp. He was right in that same range as Davante Adams, Deebo Samuel on a fantasy points per game basis at the beginning of last year. I think that the Chargers, they made a conscious effort to keep Mike Williams. They could have let him go. They brought him back, massive contract, and 6,600 is just a phenomenal price for Mike Williams. Last year, let's just take a scroll back at what he was doing at the beginning of the year. Look at this. Look at these first 5 games. Ignore this 2.1 against the team that he's playing this week against the Raiders. Just ignore that, but focus on these. 22, 36, 39. That is his ceiling. All right, and I think that this is a great spot. They're going to come out firing, going to be a ton of pass attempts in this game. I think both teams are going to be throwing the ball, going to see a lot of plays, a lot of pass attempts from both teams. Mike Williams, I think, will establish himself as the Chargers wide receiver 1. Herbert, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett is my favorite stack. Going to be running that out in multiple spots. You can bring it back, obviously, with Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow. I think that, Waller's definitely in play for tight end stacks, maybe where you go with Josh Palmer instead of Gerald Everett, who are the same price as your double piece there. You can sub out those 2 guys, but all in all, I just want to be in on the Chargers stack. It's my favorite stack of the week. I think so many people are going to be playing, Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson, a little bit of Mahomes and Kyler, all these guys going ahead of Herbert. But Herbert has the ceiling to separate at the quarterback position, as does Mike Williams, I should say, for wide receivers. So absolutely all in on the Chargers stack, and these are my top plays for tournaments in week 1. All right, guys, that is going to be it. If you enjoyed the video, help us out a little bit, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, if you have any DFS questions that you want answered, we do a live stream free on this channel every Saturday evening of the NFL season at 10 p.m. Eastern. Hop in. It's going to be good vibes. Ask any questions. We're just going to be talking about the slate for a while in general, so we can see you guys then. Make sure you tune in on this very YouTube channel. Until next time, see you guys then.